Welcome to Engaging Truths, my long-lived friend, Paula.
Yes,
Welcome,
sir.
Paula.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Paula has been known to me and many of us at St. John for a long, long time. And this is going to be a portion of our Thanksgiving message. And the reason for the Thanksgiving message is because what has happened to you over the past years is really gargantua Thanksgiving to
Mm-hmm.
know all that has happened to you.
Yes.
Let's go back just a little bit in history for you. You were born where?
I was born here in Houston, Texas, at Bentop Hospital.
And your mother had two other children or one other child?
One.
One.
Mm-hmm.
You got a brother.
I have a brother.
He's about 20,
He's 22 now.
22. Paula, the reason that this conversation excites me is because of the fact that long time ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I did the same thing every Saturday morning that I do when I'm at St. John. I go to the little taqueria close to us. And in visiting the taqueria, it was just about halfway through the morning, and your mama was at the, the taqueria, and she was taking care of the people who came there. When I walked up, I told her what I wanted, and she says, "Are you a minister?" And I said, "Well, why do you ask?" She says, "You're wearing a cross." And I thought to myself, "Well, not all ministers wear crosses. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't watch." And then she said, "Are you a minister of a church around here?" And then she pointed to the little church across the street. And I said, "No, I'm one of the ministers of the larger church up in the corner." And she asked the question, which I will never forget. And she says, "Is your church a Jesus church?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I said, "Why do you ask?" She said, "I would like to bring my family there. Would that be okay with you?" And so the end of the conversation was, she says, "Do you have a prayer team?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Could I bring my daughter up this afternoon for your prayer team to pray over her?" And I had no idea what she was talking about. I said, "Most certainly."
Mm-hmm.
This is where you come into the story.
Yes.
And you have to tell us in the listening audience what happened at that particular point when you came to St. John in the afternoon with your mama. There was something going on in your life that we need to talk about.
Yes. So at that particular moment, I had just had my second brain surgery for hydrocephalus. So I was diagnosed in high school. It was my senior year of high school. I had been having regular headaches. I didn't think anything of it. Just take a Motrin. I'm okay. Eventually, I ended up passing out, went over to the ER, and it turned out that I had a lot of fluid in my brain and some cysts that were producing that fluid. So I ended up having a brain surgery. A year later, again, the fluid was back. So I had another brain surgery. And after that brain surgery, a lot of things went wrong. I ended up having meningitis. I ended up having a lot of instances where certain things that they had done to me had malfunctioned. And at the end, you know about this, but I ended up having 14 brain surgeries. And St. John was a really big part of my journey because you guys were there to pray for me. You were there for a lot of that time. So it was a really, really hard time, but you guys were always there for us. Always in prayer got me through everything.
I think what happened on that first day when your mama brought you up here, I
Mm-hmm.
still see you walking down the walkway,
Mm-hmm.
very haltingly walking because you were in pain.
Yes.
Your arm was in mama's, and we went into the building, the old building here at St. John,
Uh-huh.
and all of the prayer team gathered for prayer, and all that we prayed for was that God would be merciful and that He would bring healing to your life.
Yes.
None of us thought you would go through 14 brain surgeries
Yeah.
during the course of that time. What was the frustration as you were heading into the 12th, 13th, and 14th surgery?
Um, it was very frustrating. And as a young girl, I mean, I was 18, 19, not being able to do what other girls my age were doing. Um, for those years, I basically lived in the neuro ICU. I mean, it was at least 4 years of my life where it was in and out of hospitals. And it was frustrating because I was in college. I was trying to get my education. I was going to school for nursing. And it halted a lot of those years I had to stop school and not go to school because I couldn't. So that was very frustrating for me. And of course, on the other end as well, my family lost everything. We lost our home.
That's right.
There was issues, my parents, the marriage, everything seemed to be going downhill for us in that situation.
Well, you had a buoyant prayer team that kept you all buoyant. It didn't look that way at first.
Right.
But as I began to see things happening that looked more positive, and after every surgery, things looked more positive.
Yeah.
And finally, it was at the 15th or the 14th surgery that finally they found a shunt somewhere in the world that was going to fit and do its job.
Yeah, it was after the 14th surgery.
What happened then? Did the shunt just do its job and you knew immediately that you were going to be healed, or what happened?
That last surgery, you could tell my doctor was exhausted. He couldn't figure out why I kept having these issues. My body just kept rejecting. Every shunt they would put in, I would reject it. I'd end up with infections. The fluid would continue to build. It wouldn't end. Okay, so when he said he ordered it somewhere. I don't remember where he said, but it was somewhere far away. And he finally put it in, and as soon as I woke up from that surgery, I knew that was it. I knew that something was different. I felt completely different. No more headaches. I was completely fine.
Did the doctor know immediately then too?
He did. My pressure wouldn't go up. Everything was fine. I wasn't getting dizzy. I wasn't showing any of the symptoms that I was showing before.
So that has been how many years now since the 15th?
It's been 5 years.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about those 5 years. Have they been difficult years in terms of medical things, or has it been just an uphill journey with a lot of positive things?
It's been full of blessings. Of course, every day I do struggle with headaches, but that's just chronic headaches that, because of everything that I've been through, but I've learned to manage them. Every day I'm grateful for every day that I wake up every morning. I'm so grateful for what I've been through. I've learned from all of this that I've been through, and I'm so glad that I did, because I figured out that nursing was my passion, and I continued my education, and now I've graduated as a nurse, and I'm really excited to see what's to come.
One of the things that I remember, as if it's something that's stuck in my head, is the simple fact that when you finally get that 15th surgery or the 15th shunt, people would notice that when Paula came to worship, that she always brought friends with her.
Yeah.
And it was noticed by the pastors too. Wouldn't it be nice if our teenage young people, our college kids, would think so much about their friends that they would bring them to church?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that was an indication to me that the message of the Lord had really touched your life. The Lord Jesus had touched your life like it had touched Mama and Grandma years before that, but it had touched your life in such a way that you felt comfortable to be able to bring them to a place that they didn't know, but
Right.
that you knew that they would know that you were the child of the Heavenly Father.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pause for just a moment and do a little public relations for our organization. The organization that we have and have had for many years is called Evangelical Life Ministries, and what we do is radio work, and we do some video work as well. This program, as all programs that we do, are listener-supported. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. All of our hosts are volunteers. Your donations to us help us to remain on the air. Now you can go to our website, elmhouston.org, to donate online, or you can send your contribution to us at, and let me give you the address, ELM P.O. Box 568, Cypress, Texas. Also at our website, elmhouston.org, you can access podcasts of past Engaging Truth programs or use the Contact tab to ask us a question or comment on our programming or submit a prayer request. And we ask you to submit a prayer request. you know that it will be heard and answered. Okay, Paula, let's get back to you. Somewhere along the line, as you were studying to become a nurse, you got married to
I
a
did.
young man, and I was fortunate to do the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And the young man that you married, his name is
Hector
Hector.
Flores. hmm
Hector does what?
He's a software engineer for Microsoft.
So you didn't stay here.
Mm-mm.
2.5 years ago, you moved away from here to where?
Mm-hmm. To Dallas or Irving, Texas.
And that's where you finished your education?
I did.
Um, what brings a special point of thanksgiving to you now that you've come back to the place that you've lived for most of your life?
Well, I've always been a Houston girl. I have all of my family here. My grandparents are here. St. John is here. That's my home. So I'm really grateful to be back. I'm really grateful to be back and serve my community, and be able to spread the message that God has for us here.
So just recently, after having
Mhm.
moved back, you got a position, and what is
did.
that?
I'm going to be a registered nurse at Cypress Creek Hospital.
Will that start soon?
Yes, next week.
So you're going to have some 8, 10, 12-hour shifts and sometimes more than that.
Yep.
Let me go back a little bit into your life with Mama and your brother.
hmm
Was it a frightening time for them when you were going through the crisis that you were going through?
It was very difficult. It was, especially for my mom. My mom, right before I was diagnosed and had my surgeries, my mom had gone through breast cancer, stage 3 breast cancer. And that itself was very difficult for us. But then right after that, my stuff came up. It was very, very difficult. My mom was very afraid. And I think for a while, my mom kind of lost her faith a little bit. And I think that's why she's so grateful that we met you, because we met you right at the right time. My mom was losing her faith. We were going through a very hard time. And it was very difficult for my brother as well. He was young, so it was hard for him to see all that happening.
And for him as a young man, wanting to see that if church would make a difference, that maybe God would bring healing to your life, and he didn't see that.
Right.
And so that probably brought some negative thoughts to his head and mind. But once he saw, after the prayer teams had prayed with you for days and weeks and months and probably a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
he could begin to see the difference, and that prayer in our relationship to God is a valuable instrument that God gives us.
Right.
Talk about the importance of prayer in your life.
Oh, prayer is very important. You know, before all of this happened, I would say I was raised in a Catholic home. My mom's family was always Catholic. I would say that I didn't really understand what was going on at church when they would take me to church. I guess I don't want to say I didn't feel comfortable. I just didn't understand the word the way they were saying, And so once I found St. John, I was able to take in that message and bring it into my life. So now prayer for me is something that I have to do daily in order for me to go on with my day. So it is very important for me, especially because of all the blessings that I've had in my life. There's not a day that I can't go on my day without making sure that I have prayer.
Let me go back a little bit to another issue, and that is the meeting of Mr. Hector.
Yeah.
You've known him for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
Go back to the first time you knew him, and then how that all transpired to get you to meet each other again.
Yeah, so Hector and I were actually in high school together. So I was on the high school drill team, and he was on the school band. And we had classes together, but we didn't start talking again until after high school. He had reached out to me because of everything that I had gone through. And actually, you were a big part of Hector's life as well, because before Hector met me, he was a very big science guy, I would say. And I guess he would consider himself an atheist before all this happened. But then once I introduced him to the Bible and to Jesus, he had a complete change of mind. He got baptized. You did that for him as well. And so now together as a marriage, we make sure that we keep that in our marriage. And that's something that has kept us together very strong.
What is it that finally made you say, Hector is the guy the Lord wants for me?
Hector is somebody that he is a leader in our marriage. Ever since he made that change, he's been someone that makes sure he gets the message from God and he lets God lead him. And to me, that's very important from here on, whether we decide to have children or we decide to have a family. I think that's something that is very important.
What a joy it is to see him. What a joy it is to see you and your mama, too.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Hispanic service here now, which we've not had for a long, long time.
Yes.
And that's your mom's mother tongue. And so I used to remember when she came to worship with you, she would always bring her Spanish Bible.
Yeah.
That was familiar to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I always kept saying, wouldn't it be nice if one day for the Hispanic people that live here in the area, and your mom in particular, that we would have a Hispanic service.
Right.
And now we have one. And I just pray that it'll be a benefit to her, because your mama has gone through an awful lot that I have seen,
Right.
all the way from losing everything to where she is today.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, what a joy it is that your mama stuck with it. She didn't give up. And especially with you, because it would have been easy for a mama to say, well, we've had 15 surgeries and it doesn't seem to work. But all of a sudden, the Lord took a hold of you and brought you together with the Lord in prayer.
Yes.
And brought healing into your life. What is it like that you now know that you're healed?
It's wonderful. It's a blessing, and now that I know that I healed, I just want to be able to bring that feeling to others, and that's why I decided to go into nursing. I want to be able to bring those smiles back to those that suffer with certain, illnesses, whether it's something that could similar to what I've been through or other situations. I want to be able to bring that hope back, that smile back into their lives.
I noticed something also over the years, that you were close to your dad.
Yes.
And he was very special in this, that during almost all those surgeries, he was with you.
Mm-hmm.
Pictures were taken, and we'd see them on the internet. And I would say how a wonderful, a faithful dad he is to you, and how important that faithfulness is to you,
Mm-hmm.
or was to you, and will always be to you, because he didn't step aside when things were tough.
Right.
He stayed with you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you and your dad always been close?
Yeah, so me and my dad have always been close. Of course, it was difficult early on because my parents did end up having a divorce, and things were rocky between my parents. So I didn't see my dad often, but I always remembered that he was my dad, and he always will be my dad. And I always was a daddy's little girl since I was very young. It's still a little hard sometimes, with my parents, but, he'll always be my dad, and he'll always be there, and he has been there for me. So I'm very grateful.
But he's had, over the years, a special love for you to be with you at all those surgeries.
Yeah.
Did he ever comment to you about the elongated surgeries and then the timing of all this? Did he ever say something to you that indicated that he would like to see it over as well? And of course, you knew that he would.
Oh yeah. I mean, multiple times I've never seen my dad cry, and during that time he cried so much, and it was very hard for me because I've never seen him do that before. And many times he cried. I mean, there was moments where there was a time in the hospital where I had a horrible reaction called Steven Johnson. And I literally did not look like myself. I had blisters all over my body, and my parents could not even turn around and look at me. It was a very hard time.
And so this brought tears to your dad's eyes, but it meant to you that there was a more than a surface love for his little girl.
Right.
And has that love grown since you've been married? Oftentimes, daddies will hang in the distance and they will encourage the wife with the husband. But does he still come and does he still talk? Is he close to you now?
Oh yeah, we are very close. I think my parents are very proud of what I've become, and even with my marriage, our marriage is, like I said, very successful. And I think part of that is because we do include God and prayer and our Bible in our marriage. So they're very proud. They love Hector. That's his other son. So we're really, really, really happy.
When you look at all that has happened to you, you can't help but be thankful
Oh yeah.
um, and say that my life is a life of blessing. Talk
Mhm.
about the blessings that, as you see them now, as you look back upon them.
I always say that if I could go back, I would never change anything. I wouldn't change anything that happened. Everything that happened for me, I think it happened, and I want to say for a reason, but I've have a different perspective in life now. I see things differently. My future looks very different compared to what I thought it was going to be, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful. Like I said, my goal in life is to help others know that there is hope. No matter what the doctors tell you, no matter what that medical chart shows, there's hope. And I think that's what God wanted me to do. And I think that's what my path is. And I'm really excited to continue on that path.
Well, you certainly have been, as I have seen you, a positive influence on other people's lives. And that isn't because you just are a friendly person, but because the very soul of your life is different. It's because of the fact that the majesty of God's grace has touched your life. The joy of knowing healing took place because the hand of God was there to bring
Mm-hmm.
healing to you. And all those things can't help but bring points of thanksgiving and joy.
Right.
You got a very short amount of time left, Paula. Is there something that we've left out about your Thanksgiving or your blessings that He's given to you?
Um, no, I'm just really grateful for the life that I've had. I just want to tell those that are going through any tough situations, whether that's medically, in their marriage, or whatever it is, that there always is hope. And that you can always turn to that Bible. You can always turn to God and He'll be there.
What a wonderful conversation with you, Paula. You know, we've not talked for a long time, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember the hours and hours of our prayer team getting together, and you were always at the top of the list simply because of the fact that they could see the love that you had for the Lord in your life and that the struggle that you were having wasn't yours alone, it was theirs as well.